we're gonna welcome back to my series where I'm working through the challenges of my book, The C Sharp Player's Guide. We've been doing the last couple of videos that I've done have been Vin Fletcher's arrows, and I forget now what the last one was, but the it's just in that last chapter. Anyway, whatever it was, we're on the third of four that deal with this arrow class that we've been making. Uh So this is coming down here to um, what we want to do here is we just barely in the last one we switched it to having these be private and having public getters. However, all this like get length and at one point in the last challenge I actually had that in there, and then we had something like hang on a sec. All right, just had to readjust for a second there because my cat was flopping on top of my keyboard. Okay, yeah, so we had something like that kind of thing is just super awkward compared to what we could have done before, which would have been, just length. Just something as simple as that. Yeah, so this like get length and set length is just kind of an awkward, like it's the code just looks a whole lot simpler if when we had them as just public fields. And so there is a temptation to say, well, I'm just going to keep it simple and just make public fields, even though we've already learned about the benefits of encapsulation and information hiding. And anyway, so properties largely solves that problem for us. It ensures that our code can still look nice and simple while still giving us that information hiding. And the easiest thing to do here, like we can just say, so we want to make a property, we can do something like this. We could say get return arrowhead type. Nice and simple. That's all it really needs to be. And then same here, this can be public fletching type. Oops. Get I don't know. I keep going back to having this setter on length because we specifically do not want that. Anyway, that replaces all of our get and set methods, and now this code can actually come back to what we had at one point, which was just divide equals 2. That. So now this code, like in terms of using it, is super simple. So other than we really don't want a setter on length, so I'm gonna delete that, and I'm gonna delete this setter. Yeah, there. So now it gives us, we've got these properties, and our fields are still protected. They're private, and nobody can get in there and mess with it unless they go through some other member that we've got here that would allow us to change it, which we have none of those. We don't actually have any setters in here now. We could add whatever setters we feel a need to add. I will say though that with all of these, we can use an expression body. That actually made 2 changes there, because we can say get arrowhead type. Same here. except that if our whole property is just a getter, if there is no setter, then we can actually simplify that like it did. So this is a property. This is a property that this is the equivalent of what was just there. So we could simplify it that way, but we could go even a step farther and say, well, at this point, like I'm actually not even doing anything with this. Maybe we just make this be an auto property. And honestly, I probably, out of all the properties I make, I'll bet 60 to 70% of them are auto properties. It's a really common thing to do. So we could just do this and get rid of this, like the specifically named backing field. We don't even need that here. And we could do the same thing here. So public fletching type, get rid of that. Public float length, get. And I've made all these get only. We could have setters if we wanted to. There. Now we got a little bit of maintenance to do down here too. So this code is only barely more complicated than the version we had with public fields. But at this point now, if we decided we wanted to totally change how this worked, I'm trying to think of a good way that we would do that. But like, there's 3 choices here and there's 3 choices here. And what if we wanted to, like the way I've got this set up right now, each of these are, they're actually 4 bytes each. I could probably squish that down into like 3 bits. And if we said the length is always going to be between 60 and 100, I might be able to squish. I might be able to do bit packing and just squish this in really, really dense. And it, not that you should, but there are occasionally scenarios where having things super packed in matters. And if we really wanted to, we could change the way that this data is stored, and the only code that we have to adapt to that is this arrow class right here. And all the rest of our program, there might be a billion arrows being used in a giant battle simulator or something like that, and none of that code would have to be changed because like that public boundary, the shell that wraps, the outside world sees. There's no, like, it does not change if we change that. If we were using fields, that would not be the case. We'd have to change all sorts of other code to make it work. So that's the main reason why we like the encapsulation and the information hiding, but it's also, but yeah, so that's why we like that. But we don't want to have ugly, complicated get method, set methods in order to achieve that. And therefore, by having properties and leveraging properties, it allows us to have kind of the best of both worlds. That information hiding, so that our data and everything that we want to keep secret can be secret, while still letting the things that are, while still having a shell that the rest of the world can interact with. That isn't obnoxious to use. It's like, this is really simple to use dot length instead of dot get length and set length and stuff. So that, I think, is it for that. So we will wrap this one up, and there's one more in this little series of 4. We'll get to that soon.